So we were able to change, and this change that I'm going to read to you enables us to do a hybrid meeting, which is, members, 2 of us here and 2 of us by way of, by the technology way. So we are 4 people present, and this constitutes a quorum. So let me read this for clarification. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill which, among other things, further extends temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. The temporary provisions were first implemented by executive order in March 2020 and subsequently enacted by Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, which was an act relative to amending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. So by this legislation, in the continuation of prior legislation, the open meeting law was made easier to have remote meetings and hybrid meetings. So I think that's pretty clear. So we do have a legitimate, valid meeting here. We do have a quorum. However, there's one little change we have to make. There's something called the 48-hour rule. And what happened on Friday when this all kind of popped up on us, we needed to change the meeting to a hybrid meeting from a regular meeting. And that was under the so-called 48-hour rule. And you probably don't have it there. It's not the one that was handed out tonight, but there is an amended agenda. It adds a couple of other items, but this is the one that allows people to join by computer or to call in. And that was posted on our website. However, because it was within 48 hours of the meeting, we do have to validate that by a motion of the Board of Selectmen. So I would ask one or somebody from the Board of Selectmen to make a motion to vote to approve the revised agenda for this meeting.
So moved, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufelt.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? This will require a roll call vote. That's one of the rules also with remote meetings. So, roll call vote. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Jonna?
Shawna Schufelt, aye.
And Richard Brewer also votes aye. That's unanimous. Okay, now we have a real meeting with real people in a real quorum. Thank you for listening to me. Other announcements of a general kind. The meeting is being recorded. You know that. That's the usual admonition, so to speak. The next meeting of the Select Board is not until August 21st, so we are going to be like in a summer recess. That's kind of rare for us, but we decided we could do that, and we were caught up enough to be able to do that, and if needed, we could have special meetings, remote meetings, to take care of any urgent business. So the wheels of government will still move forward, we guarantee. And lastly, of course, this doesn't need a lot of explanation, but there is a special election tomorrow. It's a special day with a special election. So we're voting on the Proposition 2.5 override, and polls, as you know, are open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and we hope for a good turnout. And we hope the Board of Selectmen have indicated in the past they wholeheartedly support that measure, and so we're hoping people get out to vote. So those are my introductory remarks, finally. And tonight we have a good thing going on here, and this is one of the reasons why I like to be a member of the Board of Selectmen, so we can recognize people who have served our town over the years. And we have 3 special people tonight: Mike Duarte, Karen Augusto, and Lucy Hassey from the school. And we have Tom Aubin and the superintendent, Representative Paul Schmidt, and Senator Mike Rodericks. They have special recognition for these people, and if you don't mind, I will turn it over to the 3 of you, or to Tom, or the others, to make your presentations. And
Sure can. One thing that you said, I wasn't telling you where to go. Where do you want me? Right over here, John? Okay, fantastic. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for welcoming us. It's a very special yet bittersweet time for us. We're going to be losing 3 just phenomenal employees to retirement. We have Lucy Hussey, who was with us for over 12 years. We have my dear Executive Assistant Karen Augusto, who was with us for 15 years. And of course, I think everybody in the room knows Mr. Michael Duart, who spent 40 years of his life in the service of the Westport Community Schools. And not only did he spend 40 years there, but the last 3 in particular, I want to personally thank him for, because he did want to retire and escape from us, and with the building project going on and everything going on, I begged and he stayed on. And so it's a special thank you certainly to Michael for staying on and the great work that he's done. The buildings are in phenomenal shape for the AJR, and that guy right over there has a lot to do with it. And so we don't replace people like that, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank you personally, Michael, for sticking around when you could have easily gotten out during a very difficult time. So I want to thank you very much for everything you did for our kids. That's so important. So, and of course, we have 2 of the legends here in Westport. We have Senator Roberts.
Living legends.
Absolutely. Senator Roberts and Representative Schmidt, who actually have certificates for Michael. So
Okay.
you might want to come up, Michael. This is not my show here, so.
Well, thank you. As you said, Mr. Chairman, that, the fun part of our jobs is getting to recognize individuals like Michael and Karen and Lucy, people that have given so much of their time to make our communities a better place to live and to work and to raise a family and to send our kids to school. So, Michael, congratulations. I think you're one of the few people in town that have seniority over me in the number of years served in public service. I'm on 36, you're on 40, so, 40 plus, right? 40 plus, so I wish you the longest, happiest, healthiest retirement. You deserve it. Don't go too far, because I'm sure Mr. Orban's going to be calling, picking your brains to say, help me with this. What do I do with this situation in the building? Mike, congratulations. This is citation recognizing all your years of service on the Massachusetts State Senate, so congratulations. That's great.
Well, and the House of Representatives wants to be part of this also. And I was just reflecting on all of us who serve the public. It has its challenges, we all know. Your phone will ring anytime, night or day. I'm sure yours has in 41 years.
1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And you can always be second guessed. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But the rewards of public service are pretty extraordinary. And I can only guess for you, Mike, after 40 years, seeing 40 years of students passing through the facility that you were responsible for, and seeing the progress that we've had within the past couple of years, moving to a new facility and the phenomenal leadership of our superintendent. So I'm sure you would agree that it has its challenges, but by God, it has its rewards. So I join the senator in bringing you a citation from the House of Representatives. So I want to thank you very much.
Any words, Michael?
Well, I gotta tell you, I've been a very lucky individual. I have a great family that's supportive, made sacrifices over these 40 years, miss holidays, you miss different occasions that go on. And, you've always heard the expression that if you find a job that you love, that you never have to work a day in your life. Well, I don't think that's true. What it does is it makes you work harder. Because this is the same thing as if this was my own business. You want to have the best product out there. for the students, for the staff, for the superintendent. And you're a lucky individual if you get to do what I've done for so long. And I still, even when I left, I love what I do, and some days it's tough. But I just want to say thank you very much, and I just want to stay healthy now.
With your indulgence, may we do a photograph?
Yeah,
Do you have
do one.
I don't have my phone, you want to do it?
Yeah.
You want me to do it?
Can we do it photo op?
Sure.
You gonna get us in the photo?
Smile, Steve.
That's a little harder on a hybrid, Steve. And could we do one with the chair?
Sure.
And
And with Ann.
yeah.
And with Ann. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Go ahead, Rick. Yes, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, thank you.
Superintendent, thank you.
Good luck.
Just like to tell Mike, I'll be thinking about him when I'm plowing snow at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that's great, that's great. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a public hearing, and it's the request of, I'll just read it and then I'll ask Mr. Jim Hartnett, our town administrator, to give any background on it. Request of Stephen Perry Lorenco for a change in ownership interest, change in LLC manager and change in licensing manager of OMS LLC DBA Portas da Cidade, 23 State Road, Cameron D. Olivier, co-owner, and Steve Lorenco, co-owner/manager. It's a mouthful, I think it's clear, but Jim, take us through this. And
So we have Attorney Burke here that can kind of fill in the details, but in general, they're transferring some of the ownership interests from Olivia Stone to Cam Olivier and Stephen Lorenzo. And then the manager will also change. There is a police report that came in late, it is in your files. Police report is favorable, I would recommend approval.
Okay, would the attorney wish to speak? Come right here, yes, please. Make yourself comfortable.
Good afternoon. Matthew Burke for basically OMS LLC. So the long and short of it is OMS owns Portas Shadad. That's the LLC. Since 2017, Olivia Stone has been the sole manager. She's been in the business a long time. She's looking to get out. These two gentlemen are going to be taking over OMS. They effectively have. So they are now the sole members of OMS LLC, which runs the business. The other request we had was to change, obviously Olivia's getting out of the business, we need a liquor license manager, and Mr. Lorenco has filed an application for your approval, hopefully, to transfer it from Olivia to Mr. Lorenco. But that's basically it in a nutshell. This transfer was in phases, it was in 4 phases. It started in January of 2022. Phase 1 was in July, Phase 2 was in January of 2023, Phase 3 was in April, and the final phase was supposed to be July 2nd. It was postponed till July 15th. But in effect, as we sit here today, Stephen Lorenzo and Cameron Olivier Oliver are now the sole managers and members of the LLC.
Okay,
So,
I think that's pretty clear. Jim, do you have anything to add to that?
That's it?
Questions or comments from our remote listeners or participants? And the
I'll
in-person
move
ones?
it. They're already doing a good job.
I'll second Shawna Schufel.
A motion made and seconded. Further discussion? This is a public hearing, so I do, I'll put it out, as you know, that comments from the public are welcome. So if anybody has to say anything, just come forth, and I don't think there's anybody so inclined. All right, so the motion has been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments from the Board of Selectmen? This is a roll call vote, so if I can't say all in favor, say aye. So I'll ask for a vote from how each of you will see this. Let me just write something down. Okay, roll call vote. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer votes aye also. That's unanimous. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Attorney Burke.
Just as a housekeeping matter, just one quick point. There's two requests, and just so the record's clear, the first request is to transfer ownership, and the second request is to transfer the manager status from Olivia Stone to my client.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we need two votes,
We should,
because it's two separate issues.
It was advertised as one.
Oh,
oh, but has it been done to your
Yeah.
satisfaction? Okay, good. All right, well, thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
And best of luck to
Thank you for
everybody.
your time.
We
Thank
love
you
the
very
place,
much.
and we'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Norton.
I guarantee.
I do it, yeah, I try.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay, continuing with the public hearings, the second item is one that will be passed over tonight. We're not prepared to discuss it, and we prefer to do it in a regular meeting when everybody is present. But I will read it for the record. It was item B under public hearings, request from the Harbor Advisory Committee for a slow no wake zone from the northern shore of Kirby Brook perpendicular to 409 Pine Hill Road, then north to the Head Bridge Old County Road. This has to do with the east branch of the Westport River. So that will be on a future agenda, as a future agenda item. So we are passing over that.
Mr. Chair, that'll be continued to the August 21st meeting. And you heard of the August 21st meeting.
This is to continue it? Yeah, okay. That's, I said postpone, but that's the right wording. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. So the next items, there are 4 under licenses and permits. I'll just read them and we'll do each one separately. The first A is a request from Buzzards Bay Brewing, 98 Horseneck Road for a one-day wine and malt beverage license on August 19th, 2023, from 3 to 7 p.m. for Shell Stock to be held at the Westport Fairgrounds, 200 Pine Hill Road. Jim, any comments here? Police reports, so on and so forth?
No, this one and the next one are both over at Pine Hill Road, the Shell Stock. We do have police reports for both of them now. They put in the packet, I think, earlier today. Both reports are favorable. The only thing he did note, and we can contact the fire department tomorrow, is that he just wants to make the fire department aware of the event, so if they need to make any special arrangements, they can. But other than that, I would recommend approval.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the Select Board on this matter?
I'll move it, Ann Boxler. Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing
Gonna
none.
make it
I'm sorry,
Mr. Chair,
Steve?
we're gonna make it subject to the fire department recommendations, or do you don't think it needs to be included?
What's,
I can
do we have
change.
something on that?
I will,
Okay, we could amend the motion to include that. Would you
Yes.
do that? And would the seconder agree to the amended motion?
that's fine.
Okay, so we have an amended motion duly made and seconded. Any further discussion? Again, a roll call vote. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer also voting aye. That's unanimous. Thank you. The next item is 1B. It's similar. Request from the Westport Rivers Winery and Vineyard Winery, 417 Hicksbridge Road for a one-day wine and malt beverage license on August 19th, 2023, from 3 to 7 p.m. for Shell Stock to be held at the Westport Fairgrounds, 200 Pine Hill Road. Jim, do we have all the necessary approvals on this?
We do. This is the same event, just a different vendor. We recommend approval with the same comment from the fire department.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the Select Board?
I'll move it, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, my
Roll
mistake.
call.
Roll call vote.
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer also votes aye. Old habits die hard. Thank you, that motion carries unanimously. The third item of licenses and permits is a request from the Holy Ghost Club, 171 Sodom Road, for one-day all-alcohol beverage licenses on the following dates. The following dates are August 5th, 2023, for a reunion event from 1 to 6 p.m. The second is August 12th, 2023, for a class reunion from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And the third item is August 20th, 2023, for a clam boil from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. What is the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move them subject to the police recommendations like usual.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further comments, discussion? Any public comments on these items? Okay. This time I'll get it right. Roll call vote. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve? Steve Willett? Did we?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer also votes aye. That is unanimous. Thank you. The last item of the licenses and permits is a request from the Westport River Watershed Alliance for a one-day all-alcohol beverage license for their gala on Saturday, August 12th, 2023, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to be held at 7 Cogs Hall Lane. What is the pleasure of the select board? And do we have all the necessary background?
So I do not have a police report yet, but this is their yearly event. I'm sure we'll get it in within the next day or so. I don't anticipate any problems. I recommend approval, subject to police recommendation.
Okay, would somebody make a motion to that effect?
I'll move it to that effect.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments from anybody? All in favor? This will be roll call vote again. Ann
Ann
Boxler?
Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer also voting aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next group of items are the appointments and resignations. A is a request to appoint Ryan Furtado as seasonal cemetery laborer. Jim?
Yeah, Ryan was a seasonal labor last year. We had one of our other laborers left employment about 2 weeks ago. We were able to get a hold of Ryan. He started on the 17th. I recommend that the board approve the appointment as effective as of July 17th, 2023. We've been short-staffed in the cemetery and we really need them on board as soon as we can.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the select board?
I'll move it, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? We'll do the roll call again. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer, aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next item, 2B, is a request from Keith Pelletier, Police Chief, for a conditional offer of employment as full-time police officer to Ryan Williams. Jim?
Yes, so Police Chief Pelletier is requesting the board appoint Mr. Williams, a candidate for the successful, following candidate, subject to the successful completion of a background check, physical, psychological testing, necessary training. So this is kind of one of the preliminary appointments that's been done in the past. If he makes it through those different tests and training, then he would be back before the board for the full appointment. So I would recommend approval.
Okay. Thank you for the
So moved,
explanation.
Steve Willett.
Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second, Ann Boxler. Second, Shawna.
Okay, you have competing seconds. Pick your second here, Paul. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, again, we'll do the roll call as required. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer also voting aye. That is approved unanimously. Next item on the agenda, C, is a request from the Highway Department to appoint Evan Almeida as working foreman. Jim or Chris? Or I'll ask you and then Chris.
So we have a request from Chris Gonzalez, the highway surveyor, to appoint Evan Almeida as the working foreman. That position's been vacant for a little while. I know Evan's done a great job and has presented well for for the town meeting and as well as here in town with myself and other workers. We look forward to working with them. And Chris, I don't have anything else to say, but I recommend approval of the appointment. It's a good appointment.
Chris or Evan, do you have anything to say? I'd like to.
No, I just like to say thank you for, the appointment.
Evan's been working for the town for the last 10 years. In the last year and a half, he's really stepped up, been helping me out with operations, from snow plowing to doing projects, like the project on the side of the town hall. So I do ask and recommend him being forward.
Well, thank you for coming forth, and we appreciate this. The committee, what is your pleasure?
So moved, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Long
Roll.
overdue, I'm glad he's doing something there.
Me too.
Okay, that's great. Okay, roll call vote again. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer voting aye. It's unanimous. Congratulations. Best of luck. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Chair, before Chris disappears, can I just thank him for putting up the flags on 4th of July? I haven't seen him since then, since I've been out of commission.
Well,
So
certainly.
thank you, Chris, and the Highway Department for all the work you do.
We share those things as a complete board.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good luck again. Thank you for being here. Okay, the request is, next item, D, is a request from John Resendes, Westport Community TV, to hire Olivia Hawk as temporary camera operator. John, do you wish to speak?
Hi, folks.
Hey, how are
Hi,
you?
good. Yeah, so it's that time of year again where I lose kids to graduation and I try to replace them. And Olivia is someone I had in my class this year. She volunteered multiple times at different events. And we gave her some tryouts even at some of these meetings and make sure she can handle this and doesn't get too bored. And she liked it, and I'm requesting that we hire her.
Okay. Jim, anything here that we should know about as it relates
Not that I'm
to
aware of.
salary or union and rules or anything? Okay, pretty straightforward and direct.
Chair?
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, this is Steve. I just want to add that Mr. Resendes did say his intentions to the Cable Advisory Committee, and I'm pretty sure they supported this, no issues.
They did, yeah. They
Okay.
did, yep.
Responses they did, Steve. So that's
Very
good.
good, thank you. I'll move it, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Is Olivia here this evening?
She is not, no.
That's okay. Let's just see her here. I invited her to speak if she wanted to.
Yep.
All right, motion made and seconded. Again, roll call vote.
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer votes aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, John.
Very good. Thank you, folks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks again. Congratulations.
Thanks.
The next is to a request to appoint the following to the Fire Chief Search Committee. And it would be Kevin Partridge, Cindy Brown, Jim Hartnett, Steve Willett, and Chief Brian Legendra as a non-voting member. For those of you who have been following Select Board meetings, we've been talking about this for some time now. We decided to put together a committee, and then we started to think about who would be on the committee. So tonight, we're recommending these people. Jim, even though you are one of them, could you fill us in on anything that we need to know here?
You know, Kevin Partridge is a retired chief from Berkeley, fire chief from Berkeley. Cindy Brown will be representing Personnel Board. Steve Willett from the Board of Selectmen. We're waiting on an appointment from the Finance Committee. That should be
Okay.
here for our next meeting.
All right. And, okay, and we clarified that the present chief would be a non-voting member of this committee. I think that's appropriate. Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee in this matter?
I'll move it, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, thoughts? Okay, time for another roll call vote.
Ann
Ann?
Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Aye, Steve Willett.
Shauna?
Aye, Shawna Schufel.
Richard Brewer also votes aye. That would be unanimous. Thank you, Jim. That's good to get that going, and we look forward to the work of that committee, and look forward to the Finance Committee recommendation at the appropriate time. Okay. The next item is a request from Matt Armendo, Public Health Director, to appoint 3 individuals. I hope I do not beat up the names here too badly. Olivia Wachurski as full-time Public Health Excellence PHE Shared Service Coordinator. Gabrielle Almeida as full-time Public Health Excellence PHE Shared Services Agent and Inspector. And Shaylin Rodriguez as part-time Public Health Excellence PHE Shared Service Agent Inspector. This is a provision of up to 15 hours per week. And Jim, could you give us a little background on these appointments, or and certainly
Tanya writing here.
Tanya, if you wish to
A little
speak.
better explanation than myself.
Come forward with.
Good evening, Tanya Ryden, Chair of the Board of Health. I'm here on behalf of Matt. He is at a Select Board meeting in Rochester tonight about the IMA, which you signed a couple of weeks ago, the intermunicipal agreement. We are finally ready to hire candidates to fill the shared services positions for the grant to be able to support the 6 communities that participate. Again, those are Marion, Mattapoisett, Rochester, Freetown, Lakeville, and Westport. Westport being the lead community, and therefore these become Town of Westport employees. However, they are grant funded 100%, including benefits. They're non-union, so Olive Wachurski has a master's in public health with a focus on health equity. She's coming from the Rhode Island Department of Health. Gabrielle Almeida and Shaylin Rodriguez currently work in member towns and will be moving into these positions. I should clarify the job posting and the job description. We accidentally left off their inspector training supervisors for both of those positions. These are have been vetted by the governance board, which is representatives of all the member communities who participate in the grant. And the Board of Health also endorsed the appointments at our meeting earlier today.
Okay, Jim, do you have anything to add?
I don't. This will all be funded through the grant that was approved last year and then redone again this year, so I recommend approval. I have not met these individuals, but I know they've been vetted by the Board of Health director.
Okay. What is the feeling of the Select Board on this matter?
I'll move on, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments? Okay, looks like we have time to do a roll call vote again, or, so I can't say all in favor, say aye. I'm tempted to, but Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Willett, aye. Steve Willett, aye.
Shawna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer votes aye. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Tanya. Anything else to add?
Yes, another unanticipated or planning request. As you know, we got permission to post for an attendant 1 at the transfer station. We don't have a candidate yet. Matt is interviewing someone tomorrow. We're hoping, given the short staffing, and we have some vacation requests from staff which he'd have to decline if we can't move forward expeditiously. We're hoping that the Select Board would authorize perhaps Mr. Hartnett to approve the position or the hiring on an interim basis until we can get back before the Select Board, assuming we can get a candidate soon enough. We're pretty desperate.
Understood, and we discussed this at the last meeting. However, now, this item is not on the agenda,
Right, I know.
so we can't really vote on that tonight.
Can you do it under?
48 hours.
All I can say is that we've run out of sort of options, so if there's an absence from a staff member, we will have to close the transfer station for the day. And it's just the way we'll have to operate until we can fill the position. So hopefully that won't happen between now, and hopefully we'll be able to get a candidate by the 21st, which is your next meeting, I believe. So it's just, we'll do the best we can, and we'll ask the Select Board to help get the word out if we have to close the transfer station in the interim.
Well, this is something that the Board of Health could have anticipated, to not let that happen. Because it's not the fault of the Board of Selectmen if the transfer station has to close. However, to deal with the problem here, this unfortunately does not meet the 48-hour requirement. I think the Select Board, I'll get some opinion on this in a moment, we could always, between now and August 21st, have a special meeting duly posted for this item. It'd be a remote meeting. You'd certainly be willing to attend, to be sure. So that way, it's not held up, and the problem that you allude to would not occur. Can that work?
Sure. I didn't know if you'd be willing to do that.
Oh, we don't want to close down the transfer station
Neither do we.
or be accused of it, so,
No, we're trying really hard.
no, we know you are.
We've
We
been
wish
trying
to,
to fill position.
but we want to support that. But, okay, so I think that's the way to deal with this, and, you know, this would be probably a 10-minute meeting on some Tuesday afternoon or something.
Shauna's trying to speak.
Okay, Shauna?
Hi. So I'm sympathetic to your argument, and I'm happy to attend a brief remote meeting to do that. But I do want to point out that we ourselves hired a cemetery laborer in this very meeting who had already started work because of staffing shortages. So I'm okay with, waiting, but we did, Jim Hartnett effectively authorized a cemetery laborer for a very similar situation earlier in this meeting that we ratified. And so I'm wondering if it might be more efficient for us to authorize Jim to do that until our next meeting. But if you prefer to have another meeting, that's certainly acceptable.
Is that addressed to me, Shauna?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have a remedy here that probably more appropriately would handle the item. It's the right way to do it in my view, and we don't want to run afoul of the open meeting law as respects the 48-hour rule. So we're not going to be letting this, the bad things at the transfer station happen. So I prefer we do it in that fashion, which is
Fair enough.
the more correct fashion. But you make a good point.
I'm sure 48 hours, if you could pull the meeting in 48 hours, that would be really helpful. As I say, we had an interview scheduled for this morning, and it was a no-show, so I have no guarantee that I'll have somebody, that Matt will find somebody before the 21st. But if he does, it would be really helpful to be able to move forward expeditiously. So I appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, thank you, and we'll get it done if we have to. Okay, that's, next item is G, request from Mid-City Steel to appoint Maggie Diaguar, Christopher Kessing, Abraham Melendez, Sonia Frost, Katie Medeiros, Anna Hubright, and Tara Moniz as public weighers. Jim?
Yeah, so these are yearly appointments for the scales and the weighers at different facilities here in town. This is Mid-City Steel. Pretty standard from what we've done from previous years. I would recommend approval of these appointments.
What is the pleasure of the committee?
So moved, Steve Willett.
Second, Shauna Shufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shauna Shufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer also voting aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item, H, is a request from Christopher Thrasher to be appointed to the Audit Committee. This is at the request of the Audit Committee. Since I am the Secretary of the Audit Committee, I'll discuss what this is about. You probably are aware that we have had a vacancy on this committee for some time. The committee is authorized through the town bylaw that created the Audit Committee to have 5 members. And this vacancy is an at-large vacancy, and it would be expiring a little less than 3 years from now. It will expire on June 30th, 2026. So that's what we're voting on. And the way that this was set up, which is a good thing, is these appointments were staggered. And we have like 2 people coming up in 1 year and 2 people in another year, then 1 person the 3rd year. So by having this be the at-large position, which expires June 30th, 2026, that keeps that batting order. That is the correct way to do it. So Mr. Thrasher would be the at-large member A little more background, if it's important, that was Cindy Brown, who was the former at-large member. She vacated the position when she became the chair, and also at that time, the Finance Committee designated her as the Finance Committee representative. So this is the at-large position that is vacant. There is another at-large position that is filled, and this would give us the complement of 5 people, which we have not had for quite some time. So I'm recommending, and I would make a motion that we approve Christopher Thrasher to be appointed immediately to the Audit Committee. What is the pleasure of the committee? Motion made and seconded. Further discussion or further explanation? Okay, roll call vote once again. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer also voting aye. That's unanimous. That's good news. Thank you. And we'll be able to have our next meeting, which will probably be in September, with a full complement of players. Okay, the next set of items are the action items. The first one, 3A, request from the Planning Board to review and submit comments on the special permit applications of Eric and Jillian Raposo for property located at 82 High Ridge Road, Westport, Mass. 02790. Assessors map 42, lots 1T, T as in Thomas, 7 and 8-2. Jim, maybe you could fill us in on this.
This is a small proposed development at the end of High Ridge Road. They're looking for a special permit to divide the property into 2 lots, waiving the frontage requirements. We'll be going before the planning board. The Board of Selectmen normally does not comment on these unless there's something specific. I do not have a specific recommendation one way or the other.
What is then the pleasure of the committee? We don't have to do anything
I'll go with Steve
here.
Willett.
Well, I was going to say, I wasn't sure that we needed a motion. Jim, do you?
I don't think you need a motion unless you want to submit some comments to the board itself.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the way we usually do that, right? Because when
Is there
there's,
anyone from the public on this one?
There's nobody here,
no.
except for Mike Burris, that's it.
But Michael, do you as planning board member have any comments on this? Okay, no, Sean, the answer is no, we don't have public members here for that. So don't know much about this, I'm certainly not opposed to it, so I'm not suggesting that we need to make comments, so we can just
Have any comments?
let that be the case. So Jim, you communicate with the planning board in that regard. Okay, thank you, that completes that action item. Next item is B, request to release the Westport Housing Rehabilitation Program lien recorded in book 10108, pages 274 to 278. In our package, it tells more about this and who the people are. We didn't put that on the public notice here. Jim, if you could give us any more amplification on this item?
Yeah, this was a rehab loan that was approved years ago. It was actually released by a previous board of selectmen, but the release was never recorded. And now looking to move the property, and they've noticed that the release wasn't recorded, so they're asking for it to be re-endorsed by the Board of Selectmen, approved and re-endorsed by the Board of Selectmen. I would recommend release of the lien.
What is the pleasure of the Board of Selectmen?
Can I move this one?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
Second, Shawna
So
Schufel.
moved, Steve Willett.
Motion made and seconded. Further comments? Hearing none, I assume time to vote. Once again, Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
Richard Brewer also voting aye. So that item passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving along to 3C, request from Michael Burris, Town Planner, to commit $5,000 of match to the MS4 project and $20,000 of match to the LET project through the American Rescue Plan Act, so-called ARPA funds, or the town's match fund. I'll ask Mr. Burris to speak, but Jim, do you have any comments first?
Let him go
Okay,
first.
Michael, join us.
Thank you, Michael Burris, Town Planner. I'm modifying this request somewhat and just having talked it over with Jim that it's only going to be a request of $20,000 of match for the LET project. The $5,000 of match is going to come from the planning board's budget. So the program that the planning board is applying to is the Buzzards Bay National Estuaries Program. Watershed Infrastructure and Comprehensive Conservation Management Plan Support Program Grant. It's a bit of a mouthful. The project that we are requesting the match for, as I said, was for a project at the Lett neighborhood. We're going to be requesting funds to design and assess implementation feasibility of a nitrogen-reducing septic system. That septic system would be servicing 56 homes and the Bayside Restaurant. We're drafting this application in consultation with the Buzzards Bay Coalition. And so as a component of this grant, we're going to be putting in a $290,000 grant request to design it, and we do need to contribute some match, so we're asking for a $20,000 match commitment.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Clarification then, so we're not dealing with the MS4 match?
That's correct.
All right. So this item would be just for the $20,000 match of the Lett project?
Yes.
Now I'm going to flip to Jim. So the funds, we're not in this motion designating where the funds will come from, and it's to be determined.
It's up to the board. We have two places where it can come from, I think the ARPA money or we had done a warrant article where we put grant matching funds aside. It could come from there. I would suggest probably coming from there as opposed to the ARPA, but that's up to the board. This was a grant that the planning board and the Buzzards Bay Coalition applied for last year, and it was not awarded to the town. We've revised the application, reapplying. Last year, the Board of Selectmen did commit to, I think it was a $30,000 match at the time.
It was $30,000. We've modified the proposal scope to take the project up through to the permitting process, and to stop right before the permitting process. So at the time, once the design is pulled together, then the town will have to make some decisions about how to move forward. But we wanted to stop short of moving forward on the permitting and make that assessment as to whether or not the project would be feasible at that time.
Okay.
So we've dialed back the scope a little bit, and that's the reason for the reduced match request and
Okay.
putting less for the grant.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, this is a little different, but that's okay. It's okay. So I was thinking, but apparently that's not on the table. It could be, but ARPA, we usually have a separate meeting with other participants and then recommend to the select board. But the town's match fund is available for this, I take it, anyway, so that question is moot. So Jim, would you be looking for a motion that includes the funding of this $20,000 match and the source of funds, the town's match fund?
Yes, I think that would be the proper motion. And I think there's a lot of value for the $20,000 that the town would put in to get this design. I would note that if it is designed, there's no guarantee that it's going to get constructed. Right now, we don't have any funding source or the ability for the town to take over this project and construct it. So that this is the first step, and this needs to get done before we can reach that point.
Okay. Well, we have the money. This is a project that's important, and we've been working on this for some time, so I'm supportive. So a motion, what would be the pleasure of the committee in this?
I have a question.
Yes, John?
Is there a reason that we want to use the matching instead of the ARPA? I wasn't really following why we wouldn't use the ARPA.
Jim, I'll look to you for that.
I don't know if there's a good reason one way or the other. The matching funds can be approved by the Board of Selectmen. Well, I guess the ARPA can as well, but as the chair stated, we normally go before the ARPA group first before we use the ARPA funds. But,
Well, Jim, let me ask you a similar follow-up to Shauna's question. Is there a clear advantage to the town to use the match fund, or are we better served by saving those funds for a different purpose than go to the ARPA?
The ARPA does have some restrictions as to, especially if we use Bristol County ARPA funds, as to what it can be used for. I think this would qualify under those restrictions. So in that sense, maybe ARPA is a good place to go. But in the long run, I don't think it's going to matter.
But does the match the match fund, are there other needs for that money that you anticipate in the near future?
I'm not aware of any other grants, but they come out through the year,
Yeah.
different times of the year, so.
Okay, Shauna, does that clarify for you?
Yeah, I'll move to approve it with the matching fund from the article rather than ARPA. I just wanted to understand if there was a compelling reason one way or the other. So I'll move approval.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Steve Willett.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Any further comments from you, Michael? Okay, again, roll call vote. Getting used to this. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shauna Shipal, aye.
Richard Brewer also votes aye. That vote, Paula, is unanimous once again. Thank you, Michael, and we're
Thank you.
off and running here. Good.
Yeah.
It's a good project and important to the town and the residents of that area. Okay, the next item is D, request to approve a Mass DOT letter regarding Gifford Road, Route 177. I think that's a letter that I ultimately have to sign, if I recall. And we'll just get to that item here on the drive, 3D. Yes, and Jim, just quickly, we can all read, and we probably read it, but just one more time to tell us what this is about and what I'll be doing for you.
So the town received a $150,000 earmark from Senator Rodericks to look at improvements at the intersection of Route 177 and Gifford Road. There's been a number of accidents there over the last couple of years with the new school being built. That's used as a way in and out of the school, so there is a little bit more traffic at the intersection. There's a decline going in there from the west and incline from the east on Route 177 that makes visibility somewhat difficult in certain areas, so it's a good intersection to look at for upgrades. There's an old blinking or flashing light that's outdated that should be updated at some point. We have the $150,000. That is not enough to do all the work, even just replace the existing light with an overhead flashing light. So I've been speaking with Mass Highway, and they suggested that we send a letter to Mary Jo Perry, the District Highway Director, requesting that they work with the town on this project to develop either they will do the design or possibly they will come up with some construction money to offset some of the costs, and the $150,000 from the town will go towards that improvement as well. So if we can partner with the state, we can get a much better project, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay, so this continues that process. I just had one question. Something here referred to as TIP. It's in the first paragraph, roundabout of Route 177 for programming on the TIP. I guess that's an acronym.
It is. So there's one way, like we're doing right now with the roundabout at Route 177. We're providing the design, and then we go to the regional planning agency, and we get that design and construction on the transportation improvement plan. Once it's on that plan, the state and federal government will fund the construction of the project. But it takes 5 to 7 years to get that in the queue.
Yeah.
And the design is much more complicated. It's probably a 3 to 5 year design process, as opposed to doing this intersection as a small permit project.
Okay, so I'm prepared to sign that if the Board of Selectmen will approve that. Now, what is the pleasure of the Board of Selectmen in this item?
I move that we send the letter as described. Shauna Shipal.
Second, Steve Willett.
Motion made and seconded. Okay, and
I do have one comment.
yes.
You hear a lot from the public where people are like, just build a stop sign, a stoplight, or just put in a traffic light, or change the flashing lights. It's so complicated. You can't just go out there and put up a light. It's complex. I think this is the right thing to do is to get help from the state, but I think really that's a really underappreciated how much like putting a traffic light really is in the whole scheme of things. So I just want to highlight that we're doing the best we can with, we have to prioritize, and the roundabout got priority first, but I'm hoping we can get some help on this one.
Good point. Thank you, Shauna. Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Time for roll call vote. Once again, Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shauna Shipal, aye.
And Richard Brewer also voting aye. That motion carries unanimously. Next item is E. This has to do with the Council on Aging. Request from the Council on Aging to accept the following donations. Sandra Massey, $30 for outreach. Representative Paul Schmid, $250 for the summer cookout. Beverly Medeiros, $50 for tax help. Pauline Garnett, $200 for best use. Senator Michael Roderick, $250 for the summer cookout. Varick Niles, $100 for best use. Anonymous, $50 for best use. T. Alameda, $5 for best use. Jerry Fortier, $100 for transportation. Ruth Moniz, $50 for best use. These donations total $1,085. What is the sentiment of the committee?
Accept. Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion to accept made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote again. Ann?
Boxer, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Lashana?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer also voting aye. That motion carries unanimously. Next item is F, and this is it says review the town administrator performance review. As you know, that Jim Hartnett has a contract, and in there it calls for the Board of Selectmen to review his performance. Jim has provided us with materials. It's in your package. It has been there now for a week or two. Let me just get that out. And there were a number of goals. We had those in place for some time. And in going through them, they look to all to be in order. And let me just get that here.
Mr. Chair, I'm having a hard time locating that in my packet. Can somebody tell me where it is?
Ooh,
I don't think it's in this week's.
maybe that's because, was it in last last time, and we didn't move it forward? I'm looking here myself.
It could be my own error. I don't know.
Oh, no, I don't
No,
think
I
so.
did not see it in the files either.
All right, if this is a problem, and unless Jim opposes violently, we could do it at a later date. Any increase is retroactive to July 1st, and then
I'm happy to talk about it. I couldn't see it. That's all.
well, let me then, once again, my famous words, what does the committee want to do? What is the pleasure of the committee on this? We know Jim, we know what he's done, and I think there's a strong positive feeling, but I don't want to usurp any discussion on the part of the select board or any comments. And it could be that select board members might feel more comfortable having the material in front of them. So I'm leaving it up to you. What is the pleasure of the committee?
I'm actually okay with talking. I'm okay with talking about it now. It's fine. Just need a summary of what the goals are.
And
You can go either way, however anyone wants to do it. I mean, Mandy's not here either, so I don't.
And I can go either way. And Steve, do you have a preference?
No, let's rock and roll, get this going.
Rock and roll. We all like rock and roll. Okay. Well, in the package, and it's the list of town administrative goals for fiscal year 2023. And Jim has updated this in red. And I won't go through each item, but clearly a number of these items are done on time and done in an exemplary manner. There are additional items that Jim has added here, and those are all on time. I mean, this is a good review, and I'm ready to vote that Jim has done a great job here, and I think the only thing we usually do here, and I don't think we have A, B, C, D, and E like we did in school, but I think the key for the contract is that I think it has to be an affirmative vote to a satisfactory vote. I guess it's satisfactory and unsatisfactory. I guess it's like pass fail. That sort of doesn't do you justice.
I was going to say, that's not very nice.
Well, we can put our own grade on this. I'd give it high marks. So, what does the committee feel about this?
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Yes, Sean.
So I was chair for a while here in the last year, and I just have to say he's phenomenal. I think Jim he goes above and beyond for the town. He constantly has to find something new, some new challenge has come up, and I just think he did an exceptional job with the budget and with working with the finance committee, working with the school department. Like, I just think that we are so fortunate to have him. I want to have him like a super exceeds expectations, because there's just always something and he's always there. So I really do appreciate that we have Jim, and I can't recommend him enough.
I would
No, it's a
second.
public meeting, don't let the public hear that, or they'll steal them.
No, he has to stay here.
Well, but cream always rises to the top, right? You like that farming community idea? But anyway, I second all of that, and Jim, you've done a great job for us. This would be A in my view. If we had, we can call it A anyway, we do whatever we want, but I don't want to shortchange you by just saying we passed. It's more than passed, and we look forward to having you around for many years to come, I hope. Anybody else have comments?
I agree with everything that's been said.
No, do you need any kind of motion on this, Mr. Chair?
We do, because then that would trigger the payment.
I guess Jim would like that, so I'll move it.
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to, I guess the motion is that we're passing a
To accept his performance review.
Satisfactory performance review, or whatever.
Correct.
acceptable review, which doesn't do it justice, but that's what we'll call it. Okay, so everybody understands the motion. So now a roll call vote, unless there are any further comments. Jim, do you have any further comments?
I do not, no.
Okay. Ann?
Sing your praises again. Aunt Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shawna Schufel, aye.
And Richard Brewer assertively votes aye. And Jim, it's unanimous. We congratulate you. This, in the contract, it's already like automatic, but you'll do whatever you have to do with payroll.
Thank you very much.
We congratulate you and thank you for
Thank
all
you.
you do.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a nice thing to have done. Okay, thank you, everybody. G, it's a request from Beverly Bish of the Council on Aging. She's the Council on Aging Director, as it says here, to post the part-time position of Assistant to the Director. Jim, the background on this to help us. Beverly is not here tonight.
So this position was created by the Finance Committee, not the Finance Personnel Board, prior to the town meeting. It was voted on and approved at town meeting. They're just looking to post the position. I'd recommend approval.
Okay, the feelings of the committee?
So move, Steve Willett.
Second, Shawna Schufel.
Motion made and seconded. Any further comments? All in favor now, we'll do the same roll call vote. Ann?
Aunt Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Aye, Steve Willett.
Shauna?
Aye, Shawna Schufel.
And Vic Brewer also voting aye. That passes unanimously, and I think the Council on Aging will be very happy with that. Okay, the next item, that completes those particular items, action items, and now we have a discussion item, cemetery staffing. Jim, you've given us some material on that?
Yeah, and this is more of an update, a status update. Currently, we have one of the employees on leave. He'll be out for an extended period of time. Another employee in the department did step up and is kind of taking over the responsibilities of foreman in that department. But looking at it long term, I really think we need some type of administrative position overseeing that department. Right now, they answer to myself and the Board of Selectmen. It's just not a very efficient way of doing it. I think there's a few options that we could look at, whether or not they have a separate administrator just for that department, whether or not we combine that office with, say, the Board of Health or with the Highway Department. I think what I'd like to do over the next couple of months is just come up with some different options, pros and cons of doing it each way. There's different unions involved in the Highway Department and cemetery. There's a few obstacles regardless of which direction we take. But I think long term, we really need to make some adjustments to that department just to make sure, things are changing, right? We're seeing different transitions, not only with the maintenance work in the department, but also with the record keeping in the department's website, keeping the website up to date, keeping the access to the website up to date. It's not the same department it was 30, 40 years ago. Like all these departments, they're changing, and we really need to get some additional assistance in their oversight of that department moving forward. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Right now, the staff there were able to hire an additional seasonal labor after the other one quit that we voted on earlier tonight. He's been working out great. We've been spending some time over there the last couple of weeks. They are catching up on some of the work. It's been a tough season to begin with. We've had a lot of rain, so the grass has been growing. Normally this time of year, things aren't growing anymore and they're not cutting, but things are still growing, so we're really trying to keep up and we're trying to catch up. And I hope over the next 2 months I can get something to the board that we can review as far as a new structure for that department. It would probably be something that would have to get approved at the town meeting next year. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I am working on it. The cemetery staff over there now is working hard to catch up. And yeah, we're doing what we can.
Well, thank you for presenting this. It's very easy to follow, option 1, option 2, option 3. So this really helps us. We're not actually looking for a vote tonight. You're going
I
to
am
just
not.
put it out there. And we'll be discussing this and probably ultimately, as you suggest, it being an item for a future town meeting. Discussion from the Board of Selectmen on this item. Do we have comments, questions?
Shauna
Shauna?
has her hand raised.
Shauna?
Hi. So I'm wondering if this is something that we need, I'm wondering if there's already a group that we have that should be maybe kind of help us weigh in. This is something that the personnel board could be looking at, or I'm having a hard time thinking about how do we kind of break this down, because we absolutely do need some other kind of structure over there. I completely agree with that, but I'm just not sure the right way to, I think Jim looking at and providing the options, he's got the preliminary ones look really good, but is this something we should be asking the personnel board for, or is that maybe not the right group?
I think it'll have to go through the personnel board at some point. So yes, I think I should get them involved early on. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Good thought, Shauna. Thank you for that.
Well, and this is just another thing. This is one where, you know, we've got a lot of people that are anti-override going on, which I appreciate, but they want to know why the grass isn't mowed, and they want to know why we're late on certain things. It's staffing, and it's not just the number of bodies and the staff. It's what you said. It's the change in the roles. There's more technology involved now. There's more regulations involved now. So it's really every single department, there's a trickle effect like this. And when you have really tiny departments, just one person going out will upset the whole apple cart. Like, I don't know, we just talked about the town administrator job. That's one, can you imagine the ripple effect that would have? And so here we're seeing in cemetery, you get one key absence, and it's really, really hard to recover from. So I just want people to keep this in mind that, you know, we have to be doing something different here. And even though this something different is probably going to cost more money in the long run, I think it's something we're going to have to do.
Okay, any further comments? All right, Jim, you satisfied for now that we
Yes.
have the idea, and we appreciate this. We'll keep this handy. It's a good schematic that lays it out in a way that we can all understand it. Okay, so no vote was needed on that item, but we do appreciate it. This is a key item. It's good to let the public know this is something that's on our mind, it's on our agenda, and we're going to be doing more work on this for the benefit of all. Okay, that concludes 4. The next item is 5, a town administrator report. Jim?
Just a couple of quick updates. Ian Trombley, Government Affairs Specialist from South Coast Health, stopped by the office last week to introduce himself and to see if the town needs anything that he could help us out with. But he presented some statistics that I thought were interesting. You know, South Coast Health, which is Charlton, St. Luke's, and a couple of other hospitals, they employ almost 7,500 people from this area. 289 of those employees are from Westport. So it's probably one of our largest employees outside of schools and the town hall here in this area. 31 employees work up at South Coast Family Medicine, which is up on Route 177 next to Route 88. They're located at 827 American Legion Highway. They have 9 providers there. He stated that they had over 20,000 visits in that facility last year. It's about a 12,000 square foot building with 18 exam rooms. So, you know, he pointed out that they do have a big presence here in town, and yeah, we're happy to have them. I thought that was great that they came down to take a look and just to see if we need anything, or if we do have any concerns, we can contact him directly. Highway Department, they were here earlier. They've been clearing out the area between the parking lot and Lee's Market here in the back that's been overgrown and disrepair for years, and they've only been seeded out over the last week or 2. They also get involved in a lot of other things. We had a whale that washed up on East Beach earlier today, or yesterday. They were down there working with Noah and the residents. They were looking to bury the whale, I guess, today, but right now it's on private property, so they're gonna wait until tomorrow, see if they can tow it out a little bit and bring it over to either the town or the state property where they can bury it and dispose of it properly. It's being monitored by NOAA. We're kind of working under their direction at this point, but the highway department does a lot of little things that you don't always recognize or see. Town meeting approved the wage study back in May. That request for proposal has gone out. The proposals are due on August 24th. So we'll be working with the personnel board on that wage study, hopefully get them under contract early to mid-September. Long-term building committee, looking to schedule a meeting in early August. Paula has been working with the members to make sure they're all sworn in. So we're looking, this would be on the old high school. The town meeting appropriated $200,000 to do some additional study and additional work to find out how we're going to use, if we're going to use that old high school going forward. So that's something that we're pushing to get moving on. Town website, Paula Brown and Nadine Castro from the planning department at the meeting with Civic Plus, our current website developer. They've upgraded their website to a different platform, similar to what we have, but if you look at the school department website, it's more in line with that. There's a number of other communities that are using the upgraded platform. It's easier to use. If it's easy to use, it will be used more by the employees here. We're still working on some pricing, and they're still giving us some information as to what it can do and what it can't do. We haven't looked at other options yet outside of Civic Plus, but we will. I just wanted to give you, these things get expensive. With the range of $35,000 to $50,000 to upgrade that website. It's not just upgrading the website, it's transferring all the existing data over to the new website, setting up the website, customer support on a yearly basis. But any technology that we're doing, everything is getting expensive. Our current website is outdated, we need to update it, and we're working towards doing that.
This is welcome, believe me, yes. John, you agree, right? Paula? Great. Is there anything else, Jim, from your report? I guess. Okay, any questions for Jim on his material tonight?
I just
Shauna?
want to mention, he talked about the highway department with the whale. I know the animal control officer was also down there for kind of a while, so I'm sure there were other town agencies involved, but it's just another proof, we just never know what's going to happen with the whale on the beach, so.
The Board of Health
Thanks
is
to
involved as
everybody.
well.
The Board of Health, yeah, so thanks to everybody who was down there.
I guess one more thing, we are struggling with the AC units over at the Town Hall Annex. The one in the hearing room is still out. We did get it up and going for about a week, and then it failed again. I contacted Kathy Stanley, who's our energy consultant that we work with Green Communities. She's setting up a meeting for this week, I think, on Wednesday, with one of her consultants to see if there is any type of utility grants that we can use to upgrade some of those units. All those units are majority of them are, except for the gym, are over 20 years old. It's difficult to get it's the Freon for them, it's very expensive. And as we fix one thing, something else breaks. So that was the hearing room. That one's still down. We had trouble with the one over the planning and the recreation department. That was leaking through the ceiling last week. That was a drain issue and we were able to fix. The building inspectors in the conservation office, they're having trouble with their air is very humid that's coming out of that unit. So that's not functioning properly either, but hopefully we can get some grant money, live through the rest of this year and get something in place for next year.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thanks again. We'll move along to the approval of minutes, and Paula, you indicated we could approve these minutes tonight even though Mandy's not here. They're all ready to go. They're in the package. So who would like to make a motion on the June 26, 23 minutes?
So moved.
Dan?
Boxler.
Second, Thomas Hall.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? We're going to do roll call, of course. Ann?
Ann Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Donna?
Thomas Hall, aye.
Richard Brewer, aye. That passes unanimously. And similarly, Would anybody like to make a motion on B, the minutes of July 10th?
I will also move the minutes of July 10th.
Second, Shama Shuko.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Upon hearing none, we'll do the roll call vote. Ann?
And Boxer, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shama Shuko, aye.
Richard Brewer votes aye. Those are approved. Thank you. Next is always one of the highlights of our meetings, the report on the bill warrant.
I have
Nan?
something to say. We had two of them. We had the end of FY23 and the beginning of FY24. The 24 one was large because there was a $3 million payout to one of the retirement funds. One of the, I can't remember what one it was now though. I had written it down. I can't find my note. Is what I'm looking for. So that one was a little large, but everything was in order and it was signed.
It's a yearly
Great.
payment, I think, to Bristol County.
Right, it happens once a year, Bristol County. That's when it was. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for that report. No vote needed there, of course. The next is the Selectmen Liaison Committee reports and suggestions for future agenda discussion. I'll do it the same roll call. Batting lineup, Ann, and do you have anything here for us?
I do not, just there's the fundraiser going on, that will be going on at the winery for the Westport Affordable Housing Trust, together with Habitat for Humanity, coming up in September.
Thank you. Steve?
I'd just like to spend my time asking people, while all our Westport businesses are cranking now for the summer, excuse me, spend their money local. We get the meals tax. It helps our community. So try to do as much local shopping and eating if you could. We'd appreciate it. Another on a sad safety note, there continues, excuse me, a lot of bad crashes on 195 along the whole stretch. It doesn't seem like anybody in Boston's really making an effort toward it, but it's really insane the amount of crashes, and we need to do something about it. So everybody just be careful out there. It's really putting a strain on our public safety departments too. It's not only our town, it's the whole stretch of 195. I noticed in particular lately has been absolutely horrible. The road's been shut down. It seems like every day, especially on the weekends. So just be careful out there.
Thank you, Steve. Shauna?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Not much here. Since we're not meeting again until the 21st, unless we have a special meeting, which we might, I did get, and maybe all of you got this, I think it's a good thing, it's the MMA is having a webinar on the recent changes to the cannabis law. And we were looking for that because we want to, it's a 400-page report. And Jim and I started to review that, and it's a lot. So I've already signed up for that, and I think it's August 7th. It only takes an hour, and KP Law, I think, maybe has a role to play in that too, if I recall. So that's important, and as a future item, we're going to be back talking to coastal healing again, I'm sure, at some point, after we all understand the rudiments of the new law and what the requirements are, and so on and so forth. Audit Committee doesn't meet again until September. I do attend on a regular basis the monthly Council on Aging meeting as your liaison, and things are going well there. They had an open house the other day. It was nicely attended, and they have a barbecue with, I think, Beatles impersonators. They had an Elvis impersonator not too long ago. So things are going well there. And that's all I have. So that concludes item 8. Any comments, questions? If not, we'll move on. We don't have anybody present except for our technician. So comments and statements from the public, I assume.
Can I just make a statement? A friend of mine's dog is missing. They know exactly where he is, but the dog is afraid to come to people. And he's crossing Drift Road back and forth. So if people could be really careful driving down Drift Road until they actually apprehend the dog. It's been about, I believe it's been missing for 5 days. It's been seen every day, once or twice, but they can't get the dog in. And they're working very hard at trying to get the dog to come to people.
Okay. And what kind of a dog is it?
It's a small, black, mixed lab.
Mixed lab, okay.
And actually, it's Renee Dufour's dog, who used to be
oh, yeah, you know,
the head of our vet commission.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, the board, committee, commission's vacancy list is always included, and once again, as Shauna before me, we remind you, and Ann, when you were the secretary, the clerk, that we have many, many opportunities, and
Lots.
we ask people to come forth, and Westport relies heavily on volunteer help, so the list is there for all to see. The next item, and it would be the last item before adjournment, because there is no executive session tonight, as you know. Topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. There was an earlier item that I brought to your attention regarding the approval of the amended minutes, the amended agenda for this meeting, which passed. There was another item too, and this is to appoint, I guess, is it the Long-Term Building Committee, Jim, Cindy Brown, and Sean Leach? I have that correct? Okay. So that was not anticipated, and I believe that that does meet the 48-hour requirement. And what is the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move, Steve Willett.
Second, Shauna Seafold.
Motion made and seconded. Jim, in terms of discussion, does this complete the membership of this committee?
I think so. It's pretty close. It's a big committee to begin with, right?
It feels big.
I'm looking at Paula here, because Paula's big. And
Bigger than anticipated, I think. It's like at least seven or eight, I think.
Yeah, there's quite a few, but these are the last two, and that's why we tried to get them in so that you could have that meeting. The last two that came through, so
Yeah.
in order to have a meeting at the beginning of April, beginning of August, I wanted to make sure that everyone had been appointed and signed in, sworn in.
Okay. So, motion has been made and seconded. And any further discussion? Roll call vote. Ann Boxler?
Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shauna Seafold, aye.
Richard Burr also voting aye. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Steve Willett.
Second, Shauna Seafold.
Roll call vote. Ann?
Ian Boxler, aye.
Steve?
Steve Willett, aye.
Shauna?
Shauna Seafold, aye.
Richard Brewer, aye. The motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned. I thank you, everybody, for this hybrid meetings. I don't know if I enjoyed this as much as I do the other kind, but nonetheless, we do what we have to do. We'll see you on August 21st, except, again, we may be getting together remotely to help out with the transfer station issue or anything else that comes along.
Take care.